Hi, Kenny here with Gardening Simplified again. This is part 3 in the series of succession planting. We just planted these Mississippi Silverskin peas. Now I'll have to go back with the hoe. This doesn't do a very good job of covering the seeds. But the drippers are only 8 inches, or the emitters are 8 inches like on the other one, but it'll still water these good enough, just like it is. And what I'll do, just like everything else that I plant, I'll go ahead and hand water everything too, wet down the compost good in the area around it, so the water won't just leach out. And these should start germinating here in just a couple of days. I'll talk a little bit about preparation. Like I say, I needed to get all the grass out of here, and whether you're starting a new bed or you're taking in succession planting, you want a nice clean place to work with, because you don't want to end up having to deal with weeds right off. Now, it's a lot of work setting up these beds as no dig. Cleaning them up, putting compost. Now you could just put down cardboard and compost over the top of it and plant that way. The cardboard would get rid of the weeds. Now in between these rows I'll put a mulch. I've just got to get it all down here. And I went ahead and these peas, I top dressed them before I watered them in with some triple 13, about a cup to a 10-foot a row, and went ahead and watered in the speckled limas. Here in a few days we should see some progress. Now when we talk about succession planting, you're doing that. You could be doing it in the spring because you're coming off of winter stuff, depending on what your climate's like, what zone you're in. But for here, now you can see this is kind of what the garden looks like now, because you got a lot of crops. It's the watermelons, it's kind of hard to get in there and weed, and it wouldn't have been so bad if I would have went ahead and took care of some of them, because actually the watermelons are way over there where they've run, but the rows are actually straight right down here. So you can see they went probably 8-10 foot over that way. But the main thing is to clean your area. This compost is put in about 1.5 to 2 inches thick, which is enough to suppress most of the grass seeds that come up. Once I mulch the center, I'll have very few weeds to deal with. And when you do this, all your hard work is well worth it. And I'll show you, because I've got another bed that I've got to turn over and clean out a crop well, it's time to get rid of it and get it ready to plant something else, and I'll show you just how easy that is. This bed here behind me, let me turn this around. This bed here behind me is it's broccoli. I could leave it and try to get some side shoots, but it was really planted late, so it needs to come out. But I just wanted to give you an idea of how easy it is to clean up a no dig bed. As you can see, I pulled all the crop. Well, I say I pulled them. I twisted off. The one broccoli twisted out okay. The other one, it actually had to be cut off because you don't really want to pull up the roots. You want to kind of leave them into place. But you can see I didn't pull a weed one. Now this hasn't been weeded in a couple of months. Initially, whenever it was put in, you know, I got a few weeds, but afterwards I didn't get any. Now what I'm going to do is I'll smooth this out just a little bit, and then I'm going to plant parsnips right here. Much better. Back inside, out of the heat. These mid 90s, and later this week's going to get up to the high 90s, and it's just much better sitting in the air conditioning. But what I want to really stress on was how, and I've just started doing this year. I watched a lot of Charles Dowding YouTube videos on no-dig beds. And of course, last year I bought new tiller. I've got a 6-foot tiller for my tractor, and I did break my new plot, mainly because I had a lot of roots and stuff like that that I needed to turn up, kind of level it down after it was cleared. But I left it a long time to settle in, and I did have a few weeds over there to start out with. But the thing is that that's the only time I'm really going to have to deal with them. After I seen the way this first bed performed whenever I put it in, I saw how much more weed suppression there was, and I realized that if I was going to actually keep a garden clear, and you can see how some of my garden is, it's really grown up. In fact, I mentioned back in some of my garden updates where there were some weeds I knew I needed to take care of, but just didn't have the time. And a lot of you is probably that way. For a real small garden, it's fine, but once you get into a bigger one, if you have a lot of planting beds, you know, raised beds, or you have a garden the size of mine, which it's right at 1/3 of an acre now, that's a lot to take care of. And actually, it's not getting taken care of like it should. But the clearing the beds and how weed free it is and ready to plant, that's only a small portion of no dig. The thing about no dig is it's going to start building the soil. So this year my plants performed fabulous, but next year they're going to perform that much better, in the next year and the next year. And when I don't have to spend all the time pulling weeds, it makes gardening just so much better, because as all you know, it's really nice when your garden is weed free and you don't have to do a lot of work in it. But when you get out there and especially this time of year for a lot of you, it's harvest season, so you're having to preserve a lot of your food and stuff like that, which takes extra time. You're harvesting a lot of more items, so it takes more time. You just it makes it hard to keep up with the whole garden, and I see a lot of gardens that way, and you can see how mine is. But next year, it won't be that way. I don't know if I'll get it all converted over. Most of my new part will be, and the upper part of my old garden space will be. I'm just slowly convert, but some of my rows are in the way. Because I'm changing them all to market garden rows, which they're actually going to be 36 inches wide, and some of them is going to be 48 inches wide for melons and pumpkins, stuff that needs a little more room. And they'll probably, I'll spend more time trying to put the vines back into place and keep them from running all over. But I thought that was important to show you. As far as succession planting in a no dig bed, it is just hands down, it just takes a lot less time. I did get my parsnips planted. I had a hard time with one variety of broccoli. The first one twisted out fine. The second one the stalk was hard as a tree trunk, and I thought maybe I'd have to get the chainsaw to get them loose, but I just had to get my pruners and cut each one of them off. It just takes a little bit extra time when you've got a stalk that's about inch and a quarter, inch and a half in diameter. But I hope this is helpful. I hope this encouraged you to possibly go this same route. I know gardening doesn't have to be a chore. Anything that they can do, and this channel is Gardening Simplified, and I want to simply garden it the simplest way. If you think this is a video that might have value for someone else, share it. That actually helps support my channel. You know, get me more subscribers. If you like it, like it. And if you want to see more of these and you're not subscribed, just hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll be notified every time I put out a new one. Happy gardening.